I don't think that that's a really good argument.
I just think you're going out the wrong things.
I also think they just like care too much.
You care too much about
Like,
the wrong
there is a
thing.
thing is like caring too much because like you're gonna be dead in 50 years, bro. Who gives a fuck if a bunch of people are having
Have
sex
fun, man. We're all having
consensually?
fun.
Bro,
Try
you just got to get yours and go.
You're gonna
Fuck everybody else.
You're gonna make it to
In this video, Andrew Wilson is yet again a panel member on the Whatever podcast. Andrew Wilson calls out the degeneracy of a couple of pornography creators that argue that it's no big deal. With that, let's watch Andrew Wilson do his best to help these two degenerates understand the negative effects pornography has on people and society.
Explain it to him. Is your argument the fact that this industry creates all this waste, right? This
No,
this
because
radioactive waste known as CP
The
and
fact that
everything
it
else.
exists at all.
The
fact
industry?
that the fact that this industry exists and is promoted leads to a massive increase in minors consuming this type of material, which then leads to the exploitation of those same minors.
Right, I understand that, but don't you think a lot of things in our society comes with a lot of bad, horrible shit? Right?
Yeah,
like,
I suppose, sure.
Like sugar,
Sure.
right? Mm-hmm. But you're not out here lobbying to outlaw Snickers.
And yeah, it wouldn't be an outlawing of Snickers.
What would be?
Well, so here's the thing. Most people don't develop a mental illness because they ate Snickers. They develop mental illnesses, though, if they're on the set of porn sites and they're getting banged. When
My
you're
dad
talking
developed
about,
a mental illness
when you're talking
working
about
at Ford.
things which are just generally unhealthy for you, human beings seem to be able to regulate their behaviors around these things. Some things are much more addictive than others. For instance, massive campaign from the government to reduce smoking. They didn't have to outlaw smoking. They just did everything that they could to create a social stigma around it, and the rates of it went like this, down to almost nothing. They did the same thing with obesity. They have if they do anything pro-health, that type of propaganda seems to work significantly well in the population. You can do the exact same thing with pornography and sex work, have huge amounts of propaganda saying this is really bad, do anything but this, even if you never made it illegal.
I got it. Let me ask you this. This would not exist if not for men consuming it.
Or women making it.
Or men
What, this
consuming it.
podcast?
Or women making
Where
it.
there's demand, there's market. Where there's market, there's demand. It is $100 billion a year industry. And if this didn't exist, guess what? They would be baristas.
And 30% of it is women consuming it as well. So the thing is that the industry still would exist without men. It might only be 40 billion instead of 100
I don't know
billion.
how many women are paying. I don't know how many they're paying. They get the free
Lots
shit.
of them pay.
They get the free shit.
Lots of them pay to pretend.
Women-
You know, you've made some pretty questionable life choices if you find yourself on a podcast defending pornography as if it's not as addictive or detrimental as the worst drug out there. One thing that Andrew kind of touched on that terrifies me more than anything about the prevalence and easy accessibility to pornography is children seeing it at any time in their adolescence. I mean, I think in a perfect world, children, wouldn't be introduced to it at all. I mean, but in the past, it was much easier to shield your children from this type of stuff. It was magazines and movies, you could restrict the television and, kids weren't old enough to get magazines and stuff. But now it seems like even without an intentional keystroke, a kid who's looking something up and doesn't know what the hell they're talking about can stumble onto something pornographic. And I'm not backing up what I'm saying with specific data, but it seems to me that the human brain, when you're a kid, is like a sponge and it's just soaking up everything. Your brain is figuring out how to be a human being in this world and everything. I feel like a kid that accidentally stumbles on or intentionally stumbles on pornography at the wrong time in their development could take them mentally down a bad road for the rest of their lives. It's like in Marvel movies or something where, if this one thing happened, then it branches off a new timeline. I feel like that first introduction to pornography, it can create an entire new timeline for a kid that was on the right track otherwise. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
cheap out on their.
This is one of the worst arguments made by the kind of pro-corn side, is that if men didn't exist, this wouldn't exist. Yes, it would. Just like if women weren't making it, then there would still be gay.
I just don't understand the,
You know what crack dealers say? They say, someone else is going to sell them crack. Right?
Is crack legal?
No.
If it was, would more people sell it?
Yeah.
Argument defeated. Over to
Exactly.
you.
No, not at all. That defeats your argument.
No, you got destroyed, bro.
No, I disagree.
Oh my God! Listen,
I disagree.
You just agreed
Where there's a
with
market,
me.
there is demand.
Yeah, but you just agreed that we can limit the market and the demand, right? Whether it's there or not, it reduces the amount of consumers. If, on the other hand,
What you're saying, if we made porn illegal, would there be less? Of course.
Yes.
You can make anything illegal.
Yes.
Yeah, no shit.
Yes, but you can also create regulations around this. You
So
don't
you're
even have
okay
to make
with
it
porn?
illegal.
Wait, so are you okay with?
Yeah, please.
Wait, so wait, just real quick. Are you okay with porn, or you're trying to say no?
Yeah, I would get rid of it altogether.
So what are you?
But even if
But you're
you could-
willing to be
yeah, even if
okay
you
with
could
it?
meet somewhere where there's
So where are you trying to meet?
If porn
So
was
tell me where
illegal,
you're trying to meet.
It
So-
would probably be there.
So
would be
here,
less-
so I would say, so here's what I would say.
Of course.
I'd say you couldn't get rid of it tomorrow, okay? But you could do some things which would greatly regulate it. For one, right, I'd say you need on the internet to upload some kind of photo ID in order to access these sites. That way you can keep minors off of them, period.
Do you think that works?
Hang
Because
on.
I'm as a 14-year-old,
Let me
literally
finish.
can do
let me-
whatever I want.
Let me finish the solution, and then you
Okay.
can criticize it.
All right.
That's fair, right? Next, I would up the age of which you can actually do this type of work, from 18 to somewhere around 25 years old.
Who wants to see a
26,
25-year-old naked?
27-year-old, right? I would definitely up the ante of when a person could enter into a contract like this, for the same reason that you can't go and rent a car until you're 25 years old. There's a good reason for that, and it's because you don't really understand the contracts that you're entering into. So this is a big problem.
Can I apply that to religion? This entire bullet points as well. We shouldn't indoctrinate children into religion until they're 25.
All you have to do is falsify it, like I just did with corn, and then sure.
Okay.
You know what? I don't hate any of your points.
Yeah, I actually don't. But your
All
arguments
good
have
with
all
me, my
been your
friend.
arguments have all been these people are gross and this is gross. Not
That hasn't been my argument.
I'm not mad at those points at
I
all.
want.
But at what point in
I
those
want
did you say I don't want 9 cocks in a mouth? Because that was your original argument.
So no, what I'm saying that was distinct, and it was going against something which was said back towards Brian about a cell phone incident. When I'm talking about, he thinks
I'd never thought of restrictions that you could put on pornography. I mean, I like Andrew's ideas, and the guy says, well, when I was 14, I could do whatever I want. Well, I think if there were laws like that in place and you have 2 attentive parents, it would be a lot less likely for a kid to come across that stuff. Because I'm anti-regulation on most things, so, I'm not typically for outlawing things, but, fentanyl's illegal. That's probably a good law that we have on the books. And I think pornography is really, really destroying our society. So, I mean, I agree with Andrew. I'll just say I agree with Andrew that pornography should just go away, period. And I'm to the point when the word is mentioned, or, I see one of those actors or actresses, on a YouTube video or something, I'm not like, oh, wow, that's attractive or that's hot. I feel like a darkness, like sad for that person. So I'm completely on Andrew's side. I've never been in favor of the government saying you can't do it. Adults make choices, but my big beef is just like what it is with transgender or things like that. It's like when you're an adult, you can do what you want with your life, and I can't tell you, but it's so accessible to children. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
Dude, why don't you run for office and change some shit? Because it seems like you guys just complain.
Yeah, I mean, that's not an argument.
No, I'm just generally asking you. You're an intelligent man.
We wake up.
I don't want to get shot.
Brian seems like
You don't want to
easy
get
going.
shot. The chances are
I feel
literally
like he might
zero.
wake up like, what am I pissed about today? And I just think life is so much better when life is good. Live and let live. You want to suck it, suck
Why
it.
do you think-
You want to do this, do that.
Why do you think that being chill about being a degenerate makes you less of a degenerate? Like this has always been amazing to me when people are like, "Look, man, the forest is burning down, things are going to shit, but man, I'm just chilling, smoking a blunt. What are you so mad about?" Anyway, just saying, like,
I don't get this.
yeah, just being like, well, because I'm really chill about the fact that everything is burning down, and you're saying we should probably do something about it. I don't think that that's a really good argument.
I just think you're going out the wrong things.
I also think they just like care too much.
You care too much about
Like
the wrong
there is a
thing.
thing is like caring too much because like you're gonna be dead in 50 years, bro. Who gives a? if a bunch of people are having
Have
sex
fun, man. We're all having
consensually.
fun.
Bro,
Try it.
you just got to get yours and go.
You're gonna
Fuck everybody
90?
else.
You're gonna make it to 90.
You
fun.
did when we all
He's
did.
gonna have a heart
You're
attack.
not selfish
You're
at
gonna have a
all.
heart attack.
Do you
will.
think you're selfish at
Of
all?
course.
Yeah,
chief,
so
of,
that's it.
chief of sinners.
You gotta
Yeah,
relax,
I'm not
buddy.
perfect
Hey,
at all.
let it-
There's such a thing, right? It's justified and righteous anger. When things get so out of hand and people are just like, look, fuck it. Let this horrible things that are happening, just take it. And it's like, you know what ends up happening? What ends up happening is riots in the UK as people lose their minds because they go to a boiling point. Guys like me, we're the stopgap. We're the ones who are like, before we get to this crazy boiling point,
Bro,
let's interject some logic and reason.
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
Let me ask
into
you a
this.
question. I hang out with stars, right? How annoying would I be if every minute I preach to them about how they're degenerates and need to find God and or whatever and change their job, right? I'm not here to judge you, right? Unless you're doing something extremely up, like we discussed, CP, whatever, any of that
Yeah, but
shit.
you have
The
a
obvious-
vested interest in capitalizing on it.
I have a vested interest in capitalizing on what? Hanging out with
on extreme degeneracy, right? Like that's what your interest is.
This is it too. You guys
but your
capitalize on
entire-
that too.
The entirety of the
entire
we
of
have
this-
the opposite. The opposite.
But you
we have a
talk
vested
to-
interest in stopping it.
Right, but you bring them on as if
In
you're going to
order-
change them.
Yeah, do you think that I have not gotten hundreds of DMs from different women who say, "Man, thank you so much. That actually helped a lot"? Because I have.
I'd argue that doing things for other people where you really make an impact on their life is more rewarding than any material thing you'll ever have or money. And I understand why we chase those things, but thinking outside of yourself and taking a genuine interest, no matter what your tactic is, like Andrew is a lot of times screaming and yelling, fighting with these women or lobbing insults back and forth, but his end goal is righteous. You know, if 1 out of 100 girls that he talks to goes on to live a much more fulfilling life than the empty one they were living, just selling themselves and making themselves what they thought was happy in the short term with material things to basically distract them from having to think about how bad they feel inside. I think all of Andrew's appearances on these shows are worth it. But we want to hear from you. What do you all think about this conversation about pornography? Should there be regulations on it? Should it be outlawed? Or do you disagree with me completely that it's detrimental to individuals and society as a whole? Let us know. Anyway, as always, we really appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the next one.